Hello everyone, welcome to Tactica Imperialis and to today's video. Today is going to be another my thoughts on, and today I wanted to talk a little bit more about the contents of Shadowspear, that being the Chaos Daemonkin and the Primaris Vanguard, as well as Vigilus Ablaze and the new Abaddon the Despoiler model. It's been quite a busy week, hasn't it, in terms of reveals for the hobby. Admittedly, most of the things that we've seen have been there's only been one new model and one new book sort of even talked about, but there is a lot of interesting stuff that we've seen in terms of rules, so I do think it's worth talking about. First off, I just want to put a caveat here because it got brought up in the last video on Shadowspear. I have not seen the spoilers and the leaks. I know that the rules and all the profiles and all that stuff, that pretty much all got leaked before Shadowspear really started to come out, before it was officially properly revealed, and I didn't make it clear that I hadn't seen them, and some people thought that that was a bad thing, so I haven't seen any leaks. What I'm going off is what I've read on the Warhammer community articles, because I honestly don't have the time to go trawling Reddit for leaks, thank you very much. So, without further ado, let's dive right in. We'll start off in chronological order, and we'll go with the Daemonkin. Well, actually, we'll start in Shadowspear chronological order, and then we'll go and do Abaddon at the end. So the Daemonkin for Chaos, it seems they're going to be sort of a separate codex that you can also then play as a Chaos Space Marines army. I'm not exactly sure how it's going to fit together, but it's interesting nonetheless that we're going to see a codex where there's so much crossover with the base codex. And it'll be interesting to see what the full Daemonkin roster is if and when they update Chaos Space Marines with a new codex, or if they create a separate Daemonkin codex in full that isn't just in Shadowspear, what units go and live in it. Starting off, Chaos Space Marines, as much as they look awesome, they've pretty much stayed the same, and they are welcome to jump between detachments, which is good, so it shows that there will be a lot of crossover between the two. I'll be interested to see how they get around the Chaos Soup nerf, also the Soup balancing issue that there was a while ago that they tried to fix, I think, in the big FAQ 1. We'll see how they get around that. Obviously, I think they're going to share the Chaos Space Marine keyword for the most part. Hopefully they all will, so it shouldn't be too much of a problem. But then, if they're all Chaos Space Marines, then the Daemonkin are kind of like another Legion option. So maybe they'll work out having an extra Legion option. I don't know, we'll see. But then, will they? Wait and see. Obliterators! Again, models look great, talked about that before, and as much as they've really been beefed up in terms of their models, I'm told their rules haven't changed that much in terms of, well, their weapons anyway. So, apparently their random stats, I'll just pop these up a little bit, I'll just bring these up higher. Apparently these stats are pretty similar, though they have changed ever so slightly. But they've now got extra shots, strength 6 plus D3, roll for that. Then AP minus D3, roll separately for that. And then damage D3, roll separately for that. And you roll once per unit. So you're rolling 3 dice at the start of the phase. Excuse me. Or when they're chosen to shoot, I will fire Overwatch, and that will determine their stats. And to be fair, plus 1 strength, minus 1 AP, damage D3 melee weapons is pretty good. I think that's, for a ranged exclusive unit, to have that kind of melee power really means that Oblits are not going to be completely incompetent, because I get the feeling they're going to be strength 5 or 6 base, probably strength 5. So strength 6, that's a guardsman with a power fist, if you like. It's like having a guard sergeant with a power fist, on top of having those ridiculous guns. So, not bad. And they've also changed them to have an extra wound, an extra point of toughness, and they can be taken in smaller units, meaning that you don't have to have loads of them to actually use them. All of that is a good thing, because probably the biggest weakness of Oblits was their defense as opposed to their offense. At least I would expect so, because those guns are pretty powerful, especially with the extra attacks that they're now going to get. So extra defense will help them keep in the game a little bit longer, and the smaller unit size means that you can get them for cheaper, though I do believe, or I've heard, that their points cost per model is going to go up. I'd expect it to go up, given the amount that they've changed for them. I expect them to go up. And that's, to be fair, a bit of a caveat that you have to apply to all of these rules, is unless you've seen the leaks, we haven't seen the points values for this army, for Primaris Vanguard or for Daemonkin. So we don't know quite how powerful these units are because we don't know how much they're going to cost relative to other powerful units in Chaos Space Marines and Space Marines. The Greater Possessed, it turns out they're a bit more like Primaris Lieutenants. So they are going to be more powerful than other Possessed, and a profile that eclipses even a Chaos Lord. Why is my Possessed Lieutenant more powerful than the Lord of my entire warband? I'm not sure I agree with that. Well, I do agree with that because Chaos Lords will have far better weapon options in that they'll actually have weapon options, and I don't think Greater Possessed will. So they'll have armor options, different guns, different melee weapons, and more flexibility. But it is it is a little interesting that in a society like Chaos, where power dominates overall, that someone physically weaker is in charge. Obviously, sorcerers and dark bosses also play by those rules, but I just find that interesting. But it's fine nonetheless. And they get a locus, just like Demonic Heralds, actually. So +1 strength for any Mark of Chaos, Legion, Demon units, whilst they are within 6 inches. Not wholly within, just within 6 inches of any Greater Possessed, which is pretty good. It's very specific, and we'll have to see whether they're forced to take a mark because of their locus ability having mark in the keyword. I get the feeling you might have to mark them one way or another so that their locus is balanced, because if you just make them undivided, then they either buff no one or everyone, and then that defeats the point. And the fact that I see Legion there makes me think Daemonkin will probably again be a Legion tag-on, because it's not buffing Daemonkin units, it's buffing demon units, so Possessed, Demon Engines, things like that. Then we come to the Venom Crawler. Still can't make my mind up whether I like this model or not. And it's pretty good. Not insane, but it's an interesting gun nonetheless. So the twin Excruciator cannons that it's got are 36 range, assault D3, AP -2, damage D3. That's not bad. Strength +2. So we have a ranged weapon whose profile is tied to the strength of the user. I only can take this to mean that the Venom Crawler's strength is going to decay, because otherwise what's the point of not just giving it a flat strength? Obviously it also means that if you've got buff spells going around that can actually augment the strength of your engine, then your guns will get more powerful, meaning that I think there'll be some good synergies, for example with the Greater Possessed, who will actually be able to buff the guns on a Venom Crawler, as well as whatever melee weapons that its talons give it. And its main ability, as well as punch, is the fact that it gets +1 demonic ritual summoning rolls made for Masters of Possession whilst they are within 6 inches of any friendly Venom Crawlers, which is nice. I don't know quite how powerful demonic rituals are, whether we've even seen them before, because I haven't played against Chaos in a damn long time. But it's useful to see. It's very specifically for Masters of Possession, so if other Chaos Psychers are around or trying to do summoning, then not ideal, but hey, you're getting a Master of Possession in the box anyway. There's the model one more time. And they're very interesting, because they're a Psyker who's also a counter Psyker. So Right of Possession, Psychers suffer perils of the warp on any Psychic test roll of a double instead of just +1 or +6, whilst they are within 12 inches of any models with this ability. That's useful, because obviously it makes it harder for psychic heavy armies like Eldari, or maybe perhaps Space Marines or other demons and chaos players to get their powers off safely, because you're there screwing them a little bit. I don't know how powerful that ability really is, but it also encourages you to get your your Master of Possession forward, and the powers of the Malefic Discipline seem to augment that idea of this is a melee character, or at least a close range support character, if not a beatstick. So for example, take this power Possession. It gives your AP -2 to your Psyker, and your Psyker's got a Force Staff, I assume, and that usually comes with AP -1. So that's a very, very powerful ability in and of itself. AP -2 against many armies like Space Marines will really hurt their armor. Against anything less than Space Marines, it gives you ignores armor, which is very, very good. Furthermore, if you destroy an infantry character in the fight phase, you get a free Chaos Spawn. That's really powerful. Just, hey, I punched your guard sergeant, if they have the character keyword, I don't know if they do. Okay, I punched your commissar, who's supporting your conscript blob, in the face. Now I have a Chaos Spawn. I punched your ethereal to pieces. I now have a Chaos Spawn, as well as robbing you of all the synergies, making this guy very good for character sniping in melee. However, if you go up against Space Marines, who are arguably tougher and you don't get quite the same benefit for your AP -3, well, you get a Greater Possessed. You get a better than your Chaos Lord beat stick added to your army for free if you can punch a Apothecary or a Tech Marine or another Librarian to death. That's really scary if you can get this power off and line it all up. I admit it's probably not as powerful as this makes it out to be just in a vacuum, because you've actually got to set up that attack. So you've got to line it up, then cast your buff, then charge, then attack and kill, and maybe even whittle them down with other units first and hope you don't kill them so that your Master of Possession can do it. But it is a very nice ability to see, and I think it's very flavorful, which I like. Also, it makes vehicles auto-explode. Neat. And you also aren't affected by the explosion, so good luck whacking that Stomper. And there's also one that buffs other demon units, so again, like the Possessed, except this one doesn't require a mark. So you reroll hit and wound rolls of 1 for Legion demons whilst they're within 6 inches of this Psyker. Again, really encouraging you to get up close and personal with the Master of Possession. And they also have Daemonkin Warlord traits, so reroll 1s for taking psychic tests, less likely to perils, and more likely to get the power off. And Devourer of Magic is another Warlord trait that allows you to deny an additional power and heal if you do it. That's really useful in terms of keeping this character who's going to be going forward to punch face or get up and close because his units around him need to be buffed so that they can punch face. If you have an ability to heal off of enemy psychers, that could be a really tech useful warlord trait. I really like that. I really approve of that. Now, we have the Vanguard Space Marines, the new Primaris. These guys are a little bit screwy, but we'll see how they're balanced in terms of points. First off, the Infiltrators. I got something wrong in the previous video. I need to point out that this dude who I thought was looking at a scanner, apparently that's not a scanner. That's like a Narthesium. And they confirm this in like the next paragraph. It's like the Helix Adept is that guy. So these guys have healing. It makes sense lore-wise, but we have tactical squads with built-in apothecaries. What is this? 30k? Actually, it's kind of like the rebuilding of the legions, so shh. Alright, so Infiltrators. They can set up anywhere on the battlefield more than 9 inches from the enemy deployment zone, any enemy models. I assume that's fine with the Alpha Strike change to the big FAQ 2, otherwise they wouldn't have printed it because of the way the rules are right now. And they've got a nice little bolt carbine, a marksman, kind of like a stalker bolter, but not. So it's a bolter, but it's any hit roll of a 6 that's natural is an auto wound. So it's kind of... What was the weapon that used to do that? Because I know Rending used to be an auto AP, like, ignore armor wound. But was there an ability that caused an auto wound on a 6 to hit? I don't remember. I like it as an idea, but most... Actually, what it reminds me of is snipers. Particularly in Age of Sigmar, snipers that get 6 to hit, score like headshots and do instant mortal wounds. So that's what that reminds me of, but it's not as powerful because it's on a troop unit with a rapid fire weapon as opposed to dedicated snipers. They have healing and reviving, so yeah, actual proper apothecaries. And they've also got smoke grenades once per battle. Instead of shooting, you can use a smoke bomb, and this means that you're harder to hit with ranged weapons. So these guys are probably some of the tankiest Primaris infantry that you're going to get, and certainly point for point they'll out-tank intercessors. It'll be interesting to see how they're costed relative to intercessors, because they've got all these extra abilities. Their guns are better, they're more flexible in terms of deployment, they've got healing. These guys could easily cost 30%, 50% more than an Intercessor. I don't know. We'll have to see. Then we have the Eliminator Snipers. I love these models. I think I've professed before I really like these models. And they have also got Concealed Position, so they get the Infiltrate ability. But their main trick is that they've got Special Issue ammunition on their sniper rifles. So, would you like... Bear in mind, you get all of these and have the ability to snipe characters. Would you like Heavy 1, Strength 4, AP -2, Damage D3, and you do a mortal wound on top if you roll a 6 to wound? That's one option. Option 2 is shoot round corners with 1 AP, 1 damage, get +2 to hit, so you're basically always hitting on 2s, and you ignore cover. That's probably a more niche one to have, but if you are looking to thin out a pesky character who's sort of hiding around a corner, passing out an aura ability, that's terrifying. And the Hyperfrag round, let's just give them explosive ammo so that they get heavy D3 shots, which means that they can more effectively counter infantry as well as just do sniping. These guys are terrifying in terms of their flexibility. I don't know if they're ridiculously powerful because their guns are only strength 4, but I can't think of another unit in Space Marines that can... Well, another unit in Primaris, perhaps, who's got quite that much flexibility as a long-range damage dealer. I know tanks have that option, and I know that there are probably plenty of ways you can get some flexibility, but for a small infantry unit to be able to do mortal wounds, or snipe round corners and ignore cover, or deal with infantry slightly with D3 shots each, that's really quite impressive. And I'll be interested to see how they stack up, and I do like them. So, we'll see. And obviously they've got camo cloaks, they're going to be tanky as all heck as well. Then we have the Suppressors, or Space Marines on Trampolines, as many have memed. Inceptors crossed with Devastators. They've got extra AP autocannons, and they have Suppressing Fire. So if they kill something in the shooting phase, just a model, not a unit, then the destroyed model's unit cannot fire Overwatch until the end of the turn. Oh geez. My Tau Army hates this lot. Already. My Tau Army hates them. They do, because that's really good in the right circumstance. And having jump packs and grav shoots to drop in means that they've got a load of flexibility. And I think this is what's good about Primaris Vanguard, is that they're giving Primaris more flexibility as opposed to stand there and be a gun line because lol, nothing else you can do, mate. It's really nice to see that they've got these fast-moving, heavy support troops, they've got snipers, they've got infiltrators, and all that stuff. It works for them. Admittedly, they still don't have a decent melee unit, apart from maybe the Primaris Reavers, but they don't really count. And Reavers are becoming Vanguard, by the way, just for the record. They will get the Vanguard keyword if you are wanting to use them. Then we have the Lieutenant in Phobos armor, because we had to get a Lieutenant. He's got tactical precision, so that's the same as all Lieutenants. And they have a grav shoot, which is useful, and a damage 2 ignores cover bolt gun. A damage 2 bolt gun. Interessante. I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting to have like some AP, like maybe -2 AP or something. Or maybe even a reroll of some sort. I don't know. That's very useful to have the extra point of damage. Allows him to deal with other Primaris, or maybe tackle Terminators if they get through the armor, or anything with a couple of wounds that sets up in cover. Like maybe stealth suits. Oh my god, my stealth suits. Oh, that's not pleasant. And finally, well, not finally, we have the Captain, Captain Araken, and he and the Infiltrators have an Omni Scrambler because, hey, you wanted to get around the problem of Alpha Strike by coming in on turn 2? Nope, you can't set up within 12 inches of me, and I have Infiltrate. You stay in your deployment zone, sucker. That's unpleasant. But I don't know how powerful it's going to be. It's just very, very sneaky. And the Librarian has got a new Obscuration discipline. So, for example, give a Phobos unit, that will include Reavers and pretty much everything in this box. They get reroll fails hit rolls with their ranged weapons and ignores cover, which is pretty useful. It's not insane, but it is kind of useful. Shrouding, Would you like to be Eidenet Deepkin for a turn? More accurately, I should say, turn a unit into characters, in that this Phobos unit can only be targeted if they're the closest, which is really, really useful if your captain is just trying to stay alive and his cover's been blown, but you can rush something up to screen for him. Or you want your suppressors to redeploy without being shot down, but your infiltrators are further forward. It's got its uses, let's say that. And then useful warlord traits. So give a chapter unit within 3 inches +1 to hit in the shooting phase. That's pretty useful. And Princeps or Princeps of Deceit, where you get to redeploy. Yay! More deployment shenanigans, because we really needed more of those. Oh, that's not pleasant. Oh, that's unpleasant. But that said, it fits them really well thematically, and I think I will make a video talking about like theme and game balance and all that stuff in future, because I've had some discussions about that, so I will do that. I also want to address quickly that there was an article about like a match play expansion of these boxes, and people have utterly lambasted it for saying, what is this absolute dog pile of garbage that is this Space Marine list? And, oh, this is blatant Space Marine favoritism over the Chaos. Guys, I understand that we want our match play lists to be competitive, but they were thematic lists that just used match play points, and also, as bad as they possibly were, and as much as new players wouldn't really benefit from taking them to tournaments or competitive games and getting curb stomped by them, it's not the way GW writes their lists 90% of the time. Like, you don't generally see tournament level lists anywhere on GW marketing. I've seen one like high level tourney game in White Dwarf. I'll be honest, I was bored out of my mind by it because it had Captain Smashhammer, Knight Castellan, the like 32-man guard block of infinite command points, and then and it was against a bunch of like mixed Eldari that was just doing chicanery. Outside of the game doesn't interest me, but wow, there was a lot of outrage over that article, and I just thought I'd mention it because I just found it kind of funny. We know GW doesn't write like high-tier competitive lists 99% of the time. Whatever. Anyway, moving on to probably the bit you were actually more interested in, and that is, of course, Abaddon the Despoiler. Abby's back, the turned, and he's looking pretty cool, I got to say. I'm quite impressed. Now, when I talked about Shadowspear last week, I went on about the fact that I think some of the models were a little bit over-designed. And I stand by that, particularly in the case of the Greater Possessed. I stand by the fact that they look a little bit over-designed. Abaddon is a little bit over-designed, but he gets away with it because he's Abaddon, he's a named character, and you sort of expect him to be over-the-top and over-designed. So I'm quite okay with it. I don't think that's quite my favourite. Maybe it's my favourite head. We'll see a little bit later down. So there's Drachnien and the Talon, and they're looking pretty cool. I'm not quite sure how much they've changed the Talon, because don't know if it looks exactly like Horus's or like Abaddon's old one, but it still looks pretty cool. You can see the Eye of Horus on that shoulder pad, or the Eye of Abaddon, as I suppose it is now. Generally looking good. And yeah, just look at the size of him. He's like nearly twice as tall as a Primaris, and he's probably on Guilliman's height level, nearly, which is impressive. A bit of a look at the back. You can see the little brazier, the dead Primaris lieutenant, and all that fun stuff. And they've got customizable Abaddons. This is something I really quite like. So you got 3 head options, and the cloak is also optional. So here you can see Abaddon with the standard head, but no cloak. And in some ways, I think that looks better than this. Like, that looks cool, but I kind of really like this version. Personally, I think that's better. The other 2 options, you've got the rebreather, the gas mask type thing, which is obviously very thematic. And then the one that looks a bit more like Horus, where I'll zoom in on this one in particular. You can see it's like a bit more of a noble Abaddon who doesn't look quite so much like this snarling maniacal bad guy. And I actually really like that. I think if I was to buy Abaddon, I'd probably build that version over the other two. Just me personally. No cloak and with the Horus head. Just me. But he's not coming alone. Vigilus Ablaze, the next stage in the Narcomound Gauntlet. Is that Abby on the front cover? It looks very much like him. I think it is. And is that no? Is that just a bunch of Chaos dudes? For a second there, I thought that was Calgar on the bottom of the front cover, but no, I was wrong. Some more lovely, lovely artwork. The Black Legion are coming to Vigilus, and oh dear. So here's what we're going to get. Chaos armies will be massively expanded with specialist attachments, new data sheets, and more. So this is going to be the love story of Chaos in this book, and I think that's fair. Chaos has needed that with Death Guard got a push, Thousand Suns got a push last edition. I think it's good for the Black Legion and the mainline Chaos Space Marines to get this level of a push and this level of love. And you also get a hint of some of the detachments. You've got a Harken-led Raptor pack, or sort of like the dread mob of demon engines, and oh, that sounds terrifying. And we also get to see a couple of new models. We saw in the Rumoured Demon Engine a bunch of little hints. I'm not going to go through them all here. But we saw like something that looked Terminator-y, something that looked Havoc-y, and we see here is a new Havoc. And he's carrying some form of chaotic Gatling gun, which looks utterly gorgeous. Again, not a lot of free space, like with the whole Eye of Chaos or the Eye of Abaddon, I guess, on the chest, but at least the shoulders look a bit clearer of detail, so you can do a little bit of freehand work or transfers, I hope. And yeah, it's going to be interesting, and there's going to be a regular set of Chaos Space Marine previews coming forward. Lots of previews for that, which is going to be fun, and I look forward to seeing what they do, whether we get a new Chaos Space Marine Codex to tie all the new units together, whether it's Codex Black Legion, Codex Daemonkin, just an expanded version from Shadowspear. I'll be interested to see what they do with Chaos if it isn't just a range update. I mean, I'm not against a range update because the old Possessed, we've seen now Havocs, both of them could do with an update. Mutilators, now that Obliterators have been done, really could do with an update. We could do with a new Dark Apostle model, could possibly get a new Chaos Sorcerer, though I think I quite like the one that we've got now. Chaos Terminators, I think, are probably in line for a redo. This could be a huge range overhaul, and I'm completely on board with that. And there you have it. That is everything, pretty much, in terms of the not leaked stuff for Shadowspear, Vigilus Ablaze, and Abaddon the Despoiler. I do hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think in the comments below. How powerful do you think that the Daemonkin and Primaris Vanguard are going to be? I think that they're both going to be very, very useful, but we haven't seen their points costs officially yet. So they've got the potential to be exceptionally powerful, but I hesitate to call them really good yet because they could be overcosted as an overcompensation. So we shall have to see. Abaddon, I think, is really cool. I prefer the non-cloaked variant, as I said. And Vigilus Ablaze, we've got more to come with that. And I look forward to talking about that more in the future. So let me know what you think in the comments below. I'm always interested to see what you have to say. For now, thank you for watching Tactica Imperialis. And I'll see you all again. Bye for now.